4 months ago, we've basically doubled the business in terms of MRR in 4 months. So much so that operations broke and you had to go on a massive hiring spree.
Yes, and then I had to stop sales for a whole month. It's an awesome problem to have.
What do you think the biggest challenge that I've helped you overcome through this process?
The biggest challenge for me was my belief that sales was easy and I'm good at sales naturally, so I never have to like focus on sales. Like everything's going to be the exact same. You ask like all these questions in a specific order, but you kind of like taught me that that's not how it is. If you have a sales script, you're an idiot. You have like base like guiding stuff, but really it's just about understanding the prospect and knowing when to ask like the right questions.
If you had someone sat in front of you who was thinking about working with me, thinking about working with, a different sales trainer, nice cat, deciding, I don't need sales training, I can do it myself. What would you recommend them based on your experience of working with me?
Don't be stupid. Work with David.
What's going on, people? So today we have Max Sturtevant from Well Copy. Max and I have been working together for 4 months, 5 months now. Yeah,
Something like that.
something like that.
Feels
Max,
like years.
it did feel like years. It felt like years when I came and stayed with you in San Diego too. But cool. So Max, give for everyone watching, just give them a little background, a little intro to you and Well Copy, and kind of where you started, where you got to, that kind of stuff.
100%. So my name's Max, founder of Well Copy. Currently at around, we do over 7 figures annual revenue in terms of monthly revenue, over 6 figures a month in monthly revenue. Have about 20 to 30 team members full time. And then also like some contractors here and there. We're an e-commerce email marketing agency. We work with e-commerce brands above $50,000 a month on a recurring basis, and then also time to time doing project basis stuff. And yeah, so as far as like this time last year, where I was at was kind of like a tenth of that. It's kind of been like exponential growth in the past like 12 months. It's been very, very fast. And I'm young. I don't have a lot of experience in terms of like running the whole like business thing. So I've been learning a lot this past year. Started working with David about like, like 4 to 6 months ago. And yeah, at that time, like obviously a lot of stuff has changed. But that's like a general overview, like background of where I'm at. And at the time, like starting with David, I just crossed, I wasn't doing like 6 figures a month yet. I was like, just under that. And now we do like well into that. So that's just like a little bit of background, a little bit of intro on like where I'm at and what we do.
Cool. Okay, so before we started working together, then, what would you say you were really struggling with the most?
A lot of what I was struggling with was clarity. A lot of what I was struggling with was a lot of the mentality stuff and just mental battles because I'd grown very fast. A lot of imposter syndrome, a lot of stuff that was also like bleeding into sales. And like my confidence, I was like probably the most confident, insecure person. And so that was like a lot of like the identity stuff that like really I was struggling with growing fast and not knowing what to do with like all these different changes, and just how overwhelming business is going from this little thing that I started in my mom's kitchen to now I'm providing and giving for people who have families. I'm now providing for them. And also like people are coming in to work for me as like that as a thing to boost their application. Like they're coming to work for me to to like really like boost things up. So there was just a lot of stuff and I was going through that shift. So it's just super overwhelming. And especially as like a guy who doesn't have anybody in person, I don't have anybody that I know personally that I've grown up with that does any of this sort of stuff. So lots of stuff that I just didn't know, and a lot of stuff like coming at me fast. And so, and sales was one of those areas where I didn't really have somebody, as well as like mindset and whatnot. So the biggest thing I struggled with was a lot of like the mentality and things moving fast and not really knowing how to handle myself and like actually having mindset and positive brain thought patterns that don't make you want to explode running a business.
Okay, so let's kind of dig, because I know that mindset was a key thing you mentioned, right? So if we dig into that, when you say that your mindset wasn't dialed in or it wasn't right, like what does that mean and how did that show up?
Yeah, 100%. So mindset not being right. Well, one thing was I just felt like I didn't deserve anything and I never gave myself credit. And so a lot of my confidence was like fake confidence. And I kind of it's kind of hard to explain, but it was just a lot of lack of clarity. And my mind was so foggy. I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing. I didn't know what the right way to think was and if a lot of my thoughts were justified. And so I was just like always in a state of confusion. Is what I'm doing the right thing? Is this how I'm supposed to be thinking? Do I deserve to like be at this point? And so what that would do was then it would make like my work day, and I'm always thinking about different things. And so that just like hurts your performance in all sorts of different ways. And specifically like with sales, also just having no direction and not knowing like what I'm doing, what the correct kind of like frame of mind to be in is. um that's kind of like what it was like. It was really just like jumble all over the place, and I'm sure you noticed this too. I'm just all over the place. No focus, not any sense of direction with like sales especially, and and where I'm supposed to be like mindset wise, and then also like sales process wise. So I know it's a little bit of a difficult one to put into words specifically, but really like my the best way to put it is all over the place, lack of clarity everywhere. And that just bleeds into everything because when you don't have clarity on certain things, then you aren't able to execute them at a high level.
Got it. And have you looked at like other sales training? Because I know that the big thing that you've talked about prior to us working together was struggling with the lack of clarity, feeling like you were all over the place. How much of that did you think we would cover in sales training versus, what did you expect you were going to get when you invested in sales training?
Yeah, 100%. What I expected was, okay, let's review this sales call. Let's break down. Okay, we need to like funnel out and show we asked this question at this point, this question at this point. That's what I thought it was like going into the first call. And then you started asking me like about my childhood, my relationship with like my family members and like my feelings about everything. I was like, holy cow. And so just really digging, and I haven't had anybody like talk about talk about that and really get into like the core of like a lot of my like beliefs in not just sales but like life, and then being able to pinpoint those things and talk about them. It's not something that you expect, but extremely valuable, not just in sales. What It's more valuable just like in life. And then once you're able to know those things about yourself and like how you are as a person and how that correlates to sales, and how you reflect who you are as a person based on like your background, which we dug out, then you're able to reflect that into sales, like understand why you do things and then like how you can change them. So that's something that you definitely don't expect, that I didn't expect, but super valuable and super cool that I don't think anybody else does, is you get to the core just beliefs behind you, why they are the way that you are. You get to know us as like a person, our background, everything about us, so that we can then like deconstruct that. We deconstruct everything and then we reconstruct it with like how we want it to be. And that's something that you really don't think about. Like with sales, it's all just like this is how you overcome this objection. This is how you do like this response. And I think that that's what every sales sort of like coaching thing is. Whereas like you, much deeper than that. And so you get, and of course, like you get you get the specific stuff like later on. But at the beginning, like you really got to start at the foundations, unpeel absolutely everything so that then we can rebuild everything up and then get even more specific like as we go, which is extremely valuable. And it makes sure that there's no stone left unturned. There's no like false belief that you have like in the background, which is going to prevent like some of the other like more intricate stuff later down the line. No, we address those all, get to the core, and yeah, you learn a lot about yourself and then how that can apply to sales.
That's super interesting. So, did you ever think that when you were gonna, start working with a sales coach, that there would be that much mindset associated with it? Or was it kind of like you walked into it and it happened and you're like, oh God, I don't know what to do now. Like, this is weird. I kind of want to learn sales stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I did not think that that was a thing that you needed, but now I'm like, it's the biggest thing. Especially like me, like I'm a charismatic sort of person, and so that's how like all my sales calls went. So I always thought like sales is easy because you can just like talk to the prospect and get them to like you. And then I find out that the reason behind some of the stuff that why it's working, some of the stuff that what I am doing and why it's working, and then how I also don't know anything about sales because I haven't been able to use any like sales mindset things to like actually convert people. And then once you're able to like mix those two, then you can really have good results. But no, I absolutely did not think about sales mindset. I always thought it was wooey, just like the wooey sort of like that's what you think of when you think of like sales mindset and stuff, and like look at yourself in the mirror every day and be like, you got this, you're going to close deals. But that's not how it is. That's not I assume that probably would be counterintuitive because you look like an idiot and think that you're an idiot. But no, definitely didn't think that sales, like the mindset and the background was like as important as it was. I didn't think like it mattered that much because I'm like, yeah, it's basic. You think it's basic, but then once you get into the weeds of it and like actually break it down and apply it to yourself, then it definitely does like has a huge impact. And I think that it's one of the main reasons why like I'm seeing some success as well in sales.
So, what do you think the biggest challenge that I've helped you overcome through this process?
The biggest challenge for me was my belief that sales was easy and I'm good at sales naturally. So I never have to like focus on sales just because it'll come naturally to me. Just because like a lot of the natural stuff like I can work through. But then when we actually get down into the 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 applying like a lot of the sales questions and the stream of questions and why people respond the way they do, then I'm able to apply to, and none of the stuff that like I always thought like you'd be teaching me like the tactics of just like you ask this question in this way when the prospect says this and then they're immediately going to do this. But like in reality, that's not helpful to anybody because it's too specific, and every single prospect that you're dealing with, they're completely different. And so overcoming that belief in me that every single sales like everything's going to be the exact same. You ask like all these questions in a specific order, which is what I thought sales was, but you kind of like taught me that that's not how it is. If you have a sales script, you're an idiot. You have like base like guiding stuff, but really it's just about understanding the prospect and knowing when to ask like the right questions. So that was the biggest thing for me. The biggest challenge for me was overcoming that belief and trying to like really have like a system for sales, but no, just really getting down into these are like the key things that the prospect needs to realize, and these are like the psychological things that you have to do and get them to think in order to like actually like create the sale. And so I was overcomplicating everything. That's really like to sum it up in one thing. I was overcomplicating everything, whereas like you like made it so simple of just like, hey, this is all we have to do. You're doing like these things right. Just keep doing that. It's just like a simple frame shift here that we need to do, like this simple shift in how we in how we do like the sales process. It's not like you ask this question in this order. It's like, okay, we need to get the prospect to like think this. They're thinking this because of this reason. We need to get them to like think this. And so just actually simplifying it down and making it more like easy for someone like me who's very systems oriented. He wants to see things like in a direct order. That was the biggest challenge for me, which you helped overcome.
Awesome. Okay, so what has been the biggest tangible realized result since we started working together? So whether that's, an increase in revenue, whether that's close rate, whatever it may be, like how much has well copy grown since we started working together?
Yeah, so as far as like how much we've grown, well, the one thing was I had literally before you, I never really done like one call closes or really known how to do that really. I'd always been everything about my sales process was analytical. It was okay, first call, who are you? Yada yada yada, and then and get to know the brand, and then I get access to like review their account, and then the second call, I'm just like, okay, this is why your account is low performing. I could get us to this point. We're gonna make you $100,000 more. You only have to pay us this amount of money, and it was very like analytical. And I had only had one. single call close before. And obviously, single call close is so much better because you don't have to go through an audit. You don't have to spend like an hour long call going through with somebody and breaking down like all these things. One call close is so much easier. And so I've now had in the past two, in the past 3 months, I've had over 10 one call closes, which have resulted in over like around $40,000 in monthly recurring revenue without like another call. And I've never had that happen before. And so that was something where just like being able, like knowing like the structure of the call, having like a base overview, but tailoring it towards like this specific prospect based on stuff you've taught me has generated like all that extra revenue with more people coming in. And then also like to put some tangible numbers inside of it too. We started when I was at around like 80,000 a month or so. Now we're doing over $150,000 a month. And in September, we closed 14 deals, which was the most ever. And it put my business in a very difficult point because we didn't have like the operations for it. We were just closing like too much, and I was just closing way too much. And a lot of them were one call closes, which I couldn't predict as well. So it's an awesome problem to have that I was not anticipating and never thought I'd have that many closes in 1 month.
So we started at 80K 4 months ago. We've basically doubled the business in terms of MRR in 4 months. So much so that operations broke and you had to go on a massive hiring spree.
Yes, and then I had to stop sales for a whole month. So this is all also with a whole month sales being turned off because we had to be like, we need to hire and figure out our operations because we can't take this many accounts and keep selling at this rate.
Did you ever think there would be a point so soon after starting that you would have to be like, I can't close any more deals because I'm literally growing too quickly?
No, it was something I'd hoped for, but something where no, especially me is like I feel like I'm kind of like operations minded too. I was like, I'll never get to this point. I'm gonna be ahead of like my ops and hiring, but nope, we got there, and it was a pain on the ops side, a great pain, and because like it was amazing, and yeah, never thought that would happen.
And do you know your close rate?
Yeah, so my close rate as far as like right now in terms of like qualified people is it's over 50%. And before it was kind of like around like right under 40%. So for people that book in who are qualified and closing at around like 50% right now.
Awesome. Okay. So how do you see the work that we've done over the last 3 or 4 months and the work that we're going to do next year? I know that we've spent the last, hour, or no, the last 4 hours that we've spoken since last week, basically planning and strategizing for 2025 and beyond. Like, how do you see the work that we've done and then will do going forward into next year impacting and growing the business?
Yeah, so I mean, we're at like, around $150,000 a month. In the next 6 months, I expect to be at 250K a month. That's where I want to be. And the only way that's going to happen is with sales. And so, is in actually having like a decent system for sales as well, and then also building up the team. And so now that I have like the correct beliefs around sales, and I like know like you've taught me, and so now I can help teach people as well, like some of the like people on my team about like the sales psychology, and then also you helping build up my team like directly. So we've mapped out like kind of like scripting out like a little, not scripting out, but just getting to understand what's the flow of like the sales call that we want. What are our like unique mechanisms that we can use? And then how do we kind of sort of systemize this and then actually teach that to the team and be able to grow a sales team. And so as far as like what I'm expecting, at least $100,000 a month added through like the sales systems that we're going to be building in the next like 6 months is what I'm expecting. But often I expect things and then we go way over it with sales. And so it's just if we continue doing that, who knows? Maybe it'll end up being an extra $1 million a month, which who knows?
Okay, awesome. So, two questions before we finish up. So, question one, why do you think that the system that I teach works so well for you?
For me, I am so analytical. I like to see things directly in like a systemized way. And that's how I've always thought about things. But sales just isn't that. It's you can't just ask like question, 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 and it goes like a specific way. That's just not how sales happens. So you can't have that. And so why it works so well for me is because I went from trying to do that and it not working effectively to no, having a more holistic and like it's more of the flow of the sales call rather than the steps of a sales call. It's like the flow. So teaching me to do that and overcome that like thought process was huge. And now we're starting to like really get in the weeds of like the flow, which is super cool. But that's kind of like that's I think why it worked so well for me is because I'm thinking like in steps, but no, we reshifted that, and then no, it's just like the flow of it, and then that just like completely changed everything because then I'm looking at it as like every prospect's gonna be different, and they're not everyone's gonna be like follow these same exact steps, and so that just makes things a little bit more tailored and understanding like the psychology and the beliefs that we need to overcome rather than like the questions that we need like answered in like a specific manner.
Awesome. Okay. And then final question. If you had, someone sat in front of you who was thinking about working with me, thinking about working with, a different sales trainer, nice cat, or deciding, I don't need sales training, I can do it myself. What would you recommend them based on your experience of working with me?
Um, don't be stupid, work with David because you're not only gonna get there's also like another side of it, which is the friendship and the relationship and the deep relationship that you get with David. Because like in the first few calls, like it's not just like you're getting a transactional sales coach. He's just going to be looking at your numbers and like breaking everything down. I don't think there's anybody that I've ever worked with that cares as much as David, like just about you as a person as well, because and not just in sales, about you and everything. Because like in the first few calls that we had, we're getting deep on who Max is, what his background is, and so and a lot of stuff comes out that like you don't share with like anybody else, but you tell David, and he just has that energy about him where you feel comfortable saying those things, and he creates that environment. So you're not just getting like this sales coach who's like badass at sales and is gonna like crush with like your sales rate and improving your performance. You're also getting like somebody who you can deeply trust. You know that he knows and understands you, and he's going to make decisions like that are best for you as a person, not just so he can like pump up like your sales numbers. Like you're getting like a real friend and somebody who knows you for you, and it's not some fake relationship of somebody like an agency client who just wants to keep a relationship with you to like keep you on a retainer. No, like everything with David is like real and so deep that you just literally do not get with anybody else. And it's something that I really value and am very thankful for. And my life has gone like 10 times better. Even David coming to visit me in San Diego, staying with my college friends and getting them drunk, or him watching me get drunk and taking care of me. But like that, yeah, if it would be stupid not to work with David if you're somebody who um wants to grow your sales and then also just like have like a genuine friend in the business who cares about you and is going to connect you with like all the other people in the space as well. So that's what I gotta say. Nothing but good things to say about Mr. David.
Well, I appreciate you, Max. This has been
Of
an
course.
awesome experience working with you for the last 4 months and how much you've grown and both come on as a business owner, but also come on as like a young person. Because you've done all of this whilst doing your final year at college. You're 21 years old,
Yeah.
scaled to almost a $2 million run rate, which is incredible.
It's busy. Yeah, it's busy.
Do you remember one of the first questions that I asked you when we were doing the mindset work?
One of them was, "Are you happy?"
That was the one I was thinking about. And why was that important?
Yes. Because I was so go, go, go at all times, like with school and work and business, and always being so focused on just growing, 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 and also believing that I don't have to be happy. That's kind of why it was important. And then also it just like oozed in my stressed at all times. So much shit moving in such high standards for myself at all times. So it's kind of obvious that like you could tell there that like maybe I wasn't because I wasn't allowing myself to be happy. Um, and so I think that that's kind of what it was. And I remember that clearly. It took a lot of reflection.
And if I ask you the same question now, 4 or 5 months later, are you happy?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You can see it in like every area of life. You can see like even my posts on social media, like so grim and dark. Like 6 months ago, just like lock yourself, grind, da da da. You need to be better. You need to be better. Whereas now it's like more of a healthy relationship, and I'm a lot more happy, and I have a lot more freedom, and I allow myself to be happy because that was one of the beliefs that I had to overcome, where it was like I'm this successful because I don't allow myself to be happy, and I don't allow myself to be complacent. When in reality, that hurts your performance because you're in a worse mind state, and you don't give yourself freedom to live and come up with like new ideas and stuff. So now you leave room for that. You be happy with where you are and how far you've come, and don't compare yourself to a fictitious reality, where you did certain things differently and you got better results. Like that's irrelevant. It's a fictitious reality. So definitely a lot more happy, and like everybody notices it like around me as well. I think that's one thing that you helped me with.
Awesome. All right, dude. Well, this has been a great experience for the last 4 months, and looking forward to the next 12.
Damn right. Damn straight. Let's keep growing.
I love it. Appreciate you, dude.